So,
My name is Michelle de Los Santos, and I have lived in the Pasadena-Altadena area essentially all my life, aside from about 2 or 3 years where I lived in Germany. But all the rest of the time I have lived here in the area. So we ended up here because my grandmother lived here in Pasadena and my parents met in Germany, hence living in Germany at one point. My mother is German and my father was in the army and stationed in Bremerhaven, and they met there and got married and came to California and lived with my grandmother for a time as they got settled. So my father went to university and my mom got a job at Huntington Hospital. So we pretty much are like living here, know the community really well. It's been all my life. Well, that's a complex question. The community means a lot of different things. The community means the the place where we live, the place where we work, the place that we go to school, the place that we run our errands, where we go to the park, hike in the mountains. It's what surrounds us every day. It's what is, I think, the foundation to kind of who we are as people and maybe how we feel about ourselves and how we are navigating life. It's the community. And then, of course, the community is the people, right? It's the people around us. So immediately it's my family and it's my friends, it's my coworkers. But it's also like the nuanced stuff, like it's the little Italian deli that's been there for years on Lake Street where people go get these sandwiches, and it's the hike in Eaton Canyon. It's the park, Victory Park, where my kids used to play. It's the little coffee shop that I don't think is there anymore. So it's all these places and all these memories of being in these places, hopefully with people that you love and that you care for. So the community is so integral, at least for how I feel about life, which is why the fire has been just so devastating, because the community has changed and it will never be the same. Hmm. One of my favorite memories of Pasadena Altadena has to do with a time where I was turning 50, and I had watched a documentary on Netflix, and I can't remember the name of it, but a group of people came together and decided to hike the John Muir Trail. And I thought, you know what? I want to do that. So, how can I make that happen? So, I decided to reach out to friends, and most of those friends were people and families at the Avison Charter School at the top of Allen, because my kids went there. And I reached out and I thought maybe I'll get one or two friends that want to do this. Well, lo and behold, there were like 6, 7 other moms, all super busy juggling life and work and kids and who knows what else, commuting. And they were like, yeah, totally want to do this. So I said, great. So I came up, because I'm a planner, I came up with a plan and resources and a schedule. And it was miraculous. So almost for a year, this group of about 8 of us got together pretty much weekly, carved out the time, and hiked and trained and started backpacking and started camping together. So we became these outdoorsy women. We left like the kids behind, the work behind, and we just went and enjoyed life and embraced Altadena, embraced the community and what Altadena had to offer. So we were hiking up to Henniger. We went to the top of Lake Street and hiked the Mount Low Trail and went all back into the woods. So I have to say, one of my favorite memories is just how a group of moms came together, decided we were going to do something out of the ordinary, somehow figured out how to devote time to it, practiced, and then made it happen. So we went up to the John Muir Trail, and about 8 of us did about a 4-day, 3-night backpacking trip. So that was kind of one of those momentous, life-changing events. So Altadena was integral to that because we hiked all the trails. So I'm a therapist, a psychotherapist. So I was actually in session with a client of mine and I was wrapping up. And for some reason, because I normally do not keep my cell phone out, but I had it out on my desk off to the side. And I had given clear instructions to my kids that do not call me, do not interrupt me at work unless it's an emergency. If it's really important, text me and I will check in between sessions. Do not call me unless the house is burning. So I'm in the session, so it's a virtual session, and I'm looking at my screen and then I see my phone light up and it is my daughter, who's very responsible woman. And I thought, this is strange. Why would she be calling me? So I ignored it, kind of off to the side, tried not to be very obvious about it. And then she calls again. And I thought, that's really strange. And so then I look over to the side at my phone and I get a text from my son. I have 3 children. And it says, Mom, there's a fire right by the house. You need to come home. So I thought, oh my gosh, this is awful. Really terrible. I got really anxious, nervous. So I looked at my client. We were wrapping up anyway. I said, I'm so sorry. I need to wrap up a little bit early. Looks like there's a fire. And she was very gracious and said, of course, take care of yourself. You need to do what you need to do. So I grabbed all my stuff. And my office is in Pasadena. So I drove up along Altadena Drive to get home because where I live in Pasadena is Altadena, right off Altadena Drive. And I could see the fire the whole time I was driving. I was just shocked. So I got home and we're pretty close to Eaton Canyon and the winds were blowing and it was chaotic and crazy. And I thought to myself, this is really bad. This is really bad because the fire is getting so much bigger, exponentially bigger, so quickly, and the winds were so strong. I could literally just watch the sky light up like it was the apocalypse. And so I said to my kids, thankfully all 3 were home and my husband was home. You know, we gotta, even if, regardless of what people are saying, we gotta get out of here. So thankfully we had some time, and so we have a travel trailer, and my husband asked me, he says, do you think we should take it? And I said, I think we should, and I think we might end up in there for a while. So we just got medication and documents, all the important stuff the first time around. And then I had a little more time and I grabbed some pictures and I grabbed an overnight bag, had everybody get an overnight bag. And then we still seemed to have just a little more time, so I grabbed a few more things. And at that point in time, we had all the vehicles out and the trailer out. And we're like, we gotta go. And we had the dogs in the car. I have 3 dogs as well. So it was really scary. It was very scary. And I'm about to pull away. I'm in the car with my 15-year-old. And since I'm a coffee person, I thought, I think this is going to be an awful night and I'm going to really need a good cup of coffee tomorrow morning. So I looked at my son, Lucas, and I said, you need to go into the kitchen really fast and you need to go get the coffee maker. And so he ran into the house and he ran out. And I have to say, one of the most vivid memories of the fire is our house with a whole hillside behind it on fire, like an inferno, with the winds blowing, and my son is running with the coffee maker with the electrical cord dangling, and I could see the silhouette of that. So I thought, oh my gosh, well, at least regardless of what happens, I will have a cup of coffee. So we got in the car and we were going to go to my parents in Pasadena. Well, they had to evacuate. And then we were going to go to my aunt, who was a little farther out in Pasadena, and they were evacuating. So thankfully, my aunt has really good friends in LA who were so kind. They took in 9 people and 4 dogs. And we're so grateful. So despite all this chaos and the horror of the fire and the tragedy of it and the tense loss, I'm astounded and so grateful for these acts of kindness where people really went above and beyond to help and to be considerate and supportive. So we landed there for several days, and then after that ended up living in our travel trailer for about a month, which was kind of rough. We were parked at a friend's house. And then after that, we since landed in Glendale. And we've been displaced in Glendale for, I'd say, about 6 months, 7 months. So the night that we evacuated, my husband, who is a general contractor, but also a fire protection contractor. So ironically, we have a fire protection company that specializes in fire sprinkler systems and fire alarm systems and fire extinguishers. Years ago, he had altered one of our outside faucets to be bigger. I don't know that I'm saying this right, to attach a fire hose. So we had a fire hose on the property. We just always kind of kept it rolled off to the side thinking, oh, we're not going to need this. Well, we did need it. And so that night, while I went on to LA with my 2 children and my parents and my aunt and uncle and the dogs, my husband and my older son went back to the property to check on it, and it was still standing. I mean, we're so grateful we, with all of this, didn't lose our home. I'm so very grateful for that. But there's quite a bit of smoke damage. So that evening he went back, and he and my son used the fire hose to wet down the property, wet down the awnings, wet down the trees, and that was while we still had water. And so we tend to think that's part of the reason our house maybe was still standing, because later when we went back, there were burning there were melted furniture. I mean, it was very clear there had been embers on our property. And then my husband went back the next day, but by that time there was no water, so he couldn't wet things down anymore. So it's sort of strange because our street, we're on the north side and the south side, and by some miracle, our block on both sides was spared. So even yesterday or the other day this week, I was at our house. We're having it remediated right now, finally. And if I look around, it looks the same. If I look in one direction, everything looks the same. And yet if I go half a block one way, down to the end of the block the other way, if I turn around and look behind the house where houses burned, it's not the same. You know, it's devastated. So I guess what I'm going to miss is the fact that, to me, Altadena was such an amazing community, really kind of artsy, very diverse ethnically and culturally, different socioeconomic levels. It was a special place with a special energy. And now when you drive there, it's almost like a ghost town. It's very quiet. It was weird. I got lost. I was visiting another friend way up in the meadows, and I drove down in the evening, and I kind of got turned around because there's nothing. It's just these cleared out lots. I couldn't get my bearings, which made me so sad because there were so many great houses and gardens. So I guess I'll miss what Altadena represented also in the greater world. Just a really beautiful, relatively safe community with lots of different types of people. It's pretty accepting and like a nice neighborhood. So I'm hoping people come back. I really do. But it'll still be different. The thing that I love most about the community is, I have to say, the diversity. That going out into Altadena, you get to meet all kinds of people with all kinds of backgrounds, different cultures, different languages, different just lives. And it made for a really rich experience. It was not homogenous by any means. And so my family is a little different in that I have 3 children, and it's two of them are internationally adopted. So my daughter Sophia is adopted from China. My son Zachary is adopted from Ethiopia, and then Lucas is our biological child. My husband's Filipino, and although I'm part Filipino, I look pretty white. So I'm the family that shows up to things and people don't know what to make of us. I can literally see the wheels turning. They look at me and then they look at my husband, who looks sort of Asian. And then they look at Sophia and they're like, okay, that kind of makes sense. With the youngest one, Lucas, that kind of makes sense. And then there's Zachary, who is Ethiopian. So I really have valued Altadena because it's a community that is so accepting of our family, even though our family is different, and has so been kind. Like the Avison community in particular was very, very kind. So I'm going to miss just a community that kind of saw people for who they are and went with it. Well, my fears are that the people that lost their homes in Altadena are not going to come back. Which I guess makes sense for some people, right? You have to make your own decision. That the community is going to be so very different than it was before. So I'm fearful for that. I'm also fearful because this process of loss, this process of thinking about rebuilding, planning to rebuild, implementing it, is hugely stressful. It's so difficult on people. I can see within my friends the toll it's taking on their mental and sometimes physical health. And I'm scared that the burden is so great that it's going to have negative consequences for people over time. As a therapist, I see how people have anxiety, depression. They're grieving the loss of their home, of their community. People lost friends. People died in the fires. People lost pets. So I'm fearful and scared a bit about what this means for people's mental health. I see it in kids too, because kids lost their homes, some of them, and then they also lost their schools. And so for some children, it was really a double whammy. So it's pretty trauma, like it's a trauma situation. It's going to have an impact, like a potentially long-standing impact on people. So I'm scared for that. And then the last thing that I'm kind of scared about is people not having the resources to rebuild, because I've been navigating the whole insurance situation and trying to get money for smoke remediation, and it has been pretty awful. It's stressful. It feels like people aren't hearing you. You do everything that you're supposed to be doing, and the mortgage company doesn't respond, or the insurance company doesn't call you back. So it's a tough process. It really can wear on a person day in and day out. So I am worried quite a bit about people's mental health. Yeah, I think that sort of what I alluded to before is that the kindness that people have shown and the acceptance that people have shown has been remarkable. Kind of the selflessness as well. I mentioned that part of the reason I think we still have our home is that my husband and son went back that night and wet everything down with the fire hose. The other reason we have our house is that one of our neighbors, I hope he doesn't get in trouble, but he stayed. He didn't care about the orders, and he stayed and he watched our neighborhood for us day and night for like 10 days. He got a couple of nights reprieve when my husband and another neighbor went up and relieved him. But we as a group on the street came together. We were bringing him water, we were bringing him food, whatever he needed, because he was determined to stay and save our neighborhood, which he did. He did, because small fires broke out. He was putting out fires with a garden hose and a bucket. And as things progressed, there started to be issues with looters. And he was there literally protecting our street. And so I feel so grateful to him I mean, he did this at his own personal risk, right? It was unsafe. It was unsafe because of the fires. There were some scary people driving around pretending to be firefighters and insurance people. It was terrible. And I know that he's feeling the effects of it. I mean, he did it and he wanted to do it, but I know that it's taken a toll on him too. So people just coming together and taking care of each other and supporting each other and being kind to each other has been maybe the silver lining in it all. Because you listen to the news and it's mayhem and it's terrible things, and it's easy to really feel horrible about humanity if you listen to the news. At least that's how I feel. So I don't really listen to the news, but instances like with how our neighborhood came together to support each other was really wonderful and really, really beautiful. So that's given me hope. What is my hope? My hope is that people are thoughtful about the planning of Altadena, inclusionary, kind, recognizing the history of Altadena and the diversity of the people that live there. So I really hope that the systems that are in place to help are thoughtful about giving the community an opportunity to recreate it in the way that it was before, if that's what people want. I don't want it to become a whole bunch of people who buy the land and then build big fancy houses, and the people that move in later are of one demographic, and that it makes Altadena kind of homogenous. Because again, like I said, what was so beautiful about Altadena is the diversity and the different types of people. So I guess I want to put a plug in for mental health. It's been almost, it's been 7 months now. And there are times where people who haven't been affected by a fire or have this kind of experience kind of look and say, oh, well, it's been 7 months, almost 8 months now. You kind of should be okay. And we're not okay. I mean, I guess there are some people that are okay, but I know a lot of people are not okay. And it's okay to not be okay and to still be struggling and to still have big feelings about it, to be thinking about the fire, thinking about what happened, maybe having dreams still. It takes time for the human brain and psyche to process a trauma like this. So I would say be kind to yourself and give yourself time, and it's okay to seek help. There are professionals out there that are happy to help, and sometimes help is just making sure that you have good self-care, that you are eating right, hydrating, taking that walk, reaching out to a good friend, and taking time for you, because this is a significant event. It's a really big deal, and it's going to impact us in so many ways for so long. And people that don't have that experience may not be as understanding as we hope they are, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's okay to kind of grieve the loss of our community, your home, your friends. And a grief reaction sometimes means that it can take several months, even up to a year and beyond. So just be nice to yourself and give yourself some time. And if you need support, reach out and get it, because there is a lot of help available.